Captain Lasky, the representative is here, John said as he presented the representative to Lasky. The representative is named Ava Dyer. Ava Dyer was born on Earth in the United Republic of North America, which was once called the United States of America. Captain Lasky of the Infinity, he said as he shook hands with Ava. Ava Dyer, the representative of the UNSC, she said, so we are going to check out this old Earth. What is it like? This Earth has a lack of unity. No space colonies, just old spacecraft unmanned drones. NASA and SpaceX are still the dominating space agencies. Just like ours, Ava said, so shall we head out? The UNSC Infinity then began ascending into the air and flew over to Alness Hill for a grand entrance. A few minutes later, the Infinity arrived at Alness Hill carrying everyone on board. JSDF outpost. Hazima, you need to see this, one of the generals said as Hazima rushed outside to see what was the commotion. He looked up to see a huge giant spaceship. Hazima's jaw was wide open to the ground. This spaceship was humongous. It is so huge that you can fit at least 10 football fields. Now he has seen this spaceship with his own eyes. Surely he can finally confirm this to the Prime Minister that there are indeed aliens in this world. The only concern is that, are ready to speak with extraterrestrials. Will the left wing and right wing be willing to handle that they are not alone in this vast universe? This is the UNSC Infinity. A representative team is en route, Lasky spoke through his speaker. The farmers refugees in Alness Hill were frozen in shock by this ship's entry. Many of them were paralyzed, scared, horrified. Most of them were on their knees praying for help or bowing down to what appeared to them an enormous giant metal beastly dragon sent by the gods to punish the lands below them. For the JSDF, the UNSC could be a blessing in disguise. A small group of pelicans carrying the representatives from the UEG and the Neo-Covenant Republic. They are also 2 albatross that are carrying vehicles. Apparently Lasky would like to show off some of their superior vehicles to the diet session. As the pelicans land into one of the helicopter landing pads on the JSDF base, General Hazima greeted Ava and Lasky, while the albatross opened up to reveal 1 armed warthog, 1 transport warthog, and 1 civilian warthog. They also brought some of the UNSC mechs called the Grunting Yggdrasil Mark 9 Mantis. The second albatross were carrying Covenant vehicles such as Ghost and some of their mechs. They all drove inside the JSDF base, causing a lot of attention to the soldiers and the farmed natives. Lasky and the representative got on board a warthog, while Itami and his friends drove on a Humvee. Is everyone ready to go? Lasky asked through his TACPAD. Yes, everyone said through their TACPAD. 21st century. Ginza, Japan. It is currently winter on Earth. It was that time of the year where people are going to celebrate the holidays. The gate opened up. The leading Humvee went through a checkpoint when they entered Japan. Then they were being escorted by men in black suit ties in a SUV. As soon as a few warthogs arrived, the mech made its appearance throughout the public in Japan. The appearance of the Mantis mech caused the citizens of Tokyo to have their eyes glued to that enormous mech. As the mech kept following the flow of the path, people began taking pictures of it through their phones. The people at the scene jaw dropped at a real-life working mech standing in front of their own eyes. Never in their lives they ever get to see a real-life mech. Soon the Covenant vehicles entered Japan. Though they didn't see aliens, they see humans because they want to keep it a surprise for everyone to see. At the warthogs, they also noticed some heavily armored soldiers wearing futuristic armor driving it and manning the minigun at the rear. After that, the Covenant tank has entered Japan. It was a huge size, like the size of a monster truck. All over the world the media went nuts after seeing this Mantis mech. From the USA to China, South Korea, Russia, Brazil, and from the EU wanted to get footage of this event. All over social media and forum websites, people were going nuts over this working Mantis mech, discussing theories and ideas of making their first working automated mech. They arrived at the National Diet where everyone is waiting. Everyone got off the warthogs and their vehicles. The UNSC representative and its bodyguards were making their move into the building while some of the media tried to get questions to them. Many people of the world at the scene wanted to have their focus on the Spartan. John, Jerome, and some of the Spartan IVs were following Lasky and Ava. Once again, Forums and discussions all over the world wanted to know how they could have made this super soldier. Soon as the farmers natives and a few JSDF personnel exited their limo, the press then focused on them too after the UNSC party went out of their camera vision. The world was going nuts seeing science fiction and fantasy coming to the modern world, with similar reactions when they saw Tucker, and what could be the supernatural coming to life. The National Diet didn't like the idea of bringing in the UN, NATO and other foreign officials of the international organization. Little did they know that the Sword of Aphelians are hiding somewhere in the room with their cloaking device alongside two envoys. Standing at the decks in front of the massive chamber sat three officials. One was DIET member Mizuki Kohara, the other was a UN official named James Smith. The President of the USA, China, and Russia were also watching this event through the laptops. The UNSC reps and other officials have witnessed the testimony of Itami and his Third Recon team about the deaths of civilians. After that ended, the UN official James got on the stand and began speaking. Good afternoon everyone, I am a UN official named James Smith. For those of you who haven't been keeping up with the latest event, a few weeks ago, the Third Recon team made first contact with these military men who aren't of JSDF, US or UN origins. Then we have discovered something greater. An unidentified flying object not belonging to the JSDF or any other military on Earth caught in the same war as the Japanese did. This faction calls themselves the UNSC. No, the United Nations Security Council, but the United Nations Space Command. The UN official finished as many people from the Diet began an uproar. There will order, everyone got silent. Then later, Kurabayashi, Pina, and Boxers arrived at the Diet session. They all sat down to listen to the UNSC presentation. Would the representative of the UNSC stand before us? James asked as Lasky and Ava. The two walked on the stand and began speaking. I am Captain Thomas Lasky of the UNSC Navy, the captain of the UNSC Infinity. I am Ava Dyer and I am the representative of the UNSC, and the UEG. Thank you. May I ask what this UEG stands for? James asked. The UEG stands for, the Unified Earth Government. With just those three words, conspiracy theories started to explode and scream about some new world order. The UN finally revealed its true colors and its agenda. The Unified Earth Government, James asked. Correct. Where we come from, it is currently the end of the 26th century and we are heading to the 27th century. The year for us is 2591. Everyone started to get loud at the news of these UNSC people that were from roughly 600 years in the future. People from the Diet were interested in what the future was like. Did they create space colonies? Dyson spheres? Laser weapons? Most interesting part is, have they made contact with aliens? But don't take it from me, but someone here can tell you everything, Lasky said as he took the chip and placed it on the mic. It showed a young holographic female suddenly appeared for everybody to see. Many gasped at the sight of the appearance. The farmed natives thought it was some mystical entity. The AI was wearing a female standard uniform. Well, that was some trick, she said. I am UNSC JN 3964 to 3905 at your service. She introduced herself, but you can call me Jen. The Diet session couldn't believe their eyes. Right in front of them were a real working AI, a self-aware robotic intelligence. Something in the modern world was trying to create. Do you mean that's a working artificial intelligence? James asked. Yes, I am. I am a fourth-generation smart AI. So I would like to know your history, James said. Very well, but I would like a screen, because after she talks, I'm going to be showing a presentation. Very well. Jen then began to speak. So it all started in the year 2021 with the formation of the International Society of Civil Engineers, an organization to prepare for the future. Our quality of life will be changed thanks to this organization, preparing us to go to space and such. They let that sink in for a bit. The year 2021 was just a few years ahead. They were all thinking, could such a thing ever happen? Then by the year 2080, humanity has decided to colonize the inner planets like Luna, Mars, the Jovian moons and the asteroid belts. Mars was really important though. After humans landed on Mars, Humans began using a new prototype terraforming technology. Jen then showed footage of a time-lapse of Mars slowly turning a dead red planet into a Earth-like planet. Everyone who was watching went awed. People who were watching these events were either in markets, the streets, some anime stores, restaurants, and some were watching from their work. However, things didn't go so well after that, which would eventually lead to the interplanetary wars, one of the most devastating and most brutal wars that man has done to himself. This led to the formation of old ideologies like the neo-communist Bolsheviks and the Freedom fascist ideology. Jen then showed footage of the two factions in rallies, then eventually the wars. This resulted in the formation of the UNSC to combat them. They even showed footage of the rainforest wars and how it really devastated the environment. People gasped and cried out over this. Climate change activists began rising up against coal mining facilities and fossil fuels over this interplanetary wars. The interplanetary wars was one of the most devastating wars of mankind. Nearly 1 billion lives were led, all governments to nearly collapse or become powerless. The USA lost its power. After that, the Unified Earth Government was formed to become a full-on governing entity. Then Jen showed the first president of the UEG. Everyone was cheering for the first US president to be elected into office, promising for a better future and such. The end of the interplanetary wars ended when the Callisto Treaty was signed in March 2170. However, there were new issues: overpopulation, world hunger, and such. In the year 2291, two men who had surpassed Einstein. Two men are named Tobias Shaw and Wallace Fujikawa. They have created the very first faster-than-light travel called Slipspace. This made everyone gasp, especially scientists and astronomers, who were thinking. In the USA, Neil deGrasse Tyson was stunned to hear that these people have made their own FTL system. Impossible. There is no way something is faster than light. You would have to break the laws of science to do that, Neil said. We managed to break the laws of science and create the Shaw-Fujikawa Translight engine, named after their two for their honorary contribution. She then showed footage of the two men holding the Nobel Prize and smiling, with the sound of applause in the background. Then at the year 2310, humans began seeing our local stars like Alpha Centauri, Sirius and such. Jen showed footage of the first ship going into Slipspace and landing onto some of the planets. One of the footage showed Arcadia, which was once an empty world filled with vegetation. Then a time-lapse from a small settlement to a colossal futuristic city which would make 21st century cities on its knees. For the farmer natives, it was a vast city that gods lived in. Then by the year 2490, over 800 worlds were colonized in a portion of the Orion Arm. Settlements all over UNSC space consist of fortress to agricultural planets. That gave some whistles to some of the Diet members. Sadly, the outer colonies began to rebel against UNSC that would last for the next 30 to 40 years. The rebels called themselves the Insurrectionist. Then Jen showed footage of what the Insurrectionist had done, like killing civilians, bombing buildings and such, similar to what the world is going through right now with ISIS and such. This caused a loud gasp among the audience on such horrific things. Before we move on, I want to pass this to Captain Lasky. I want him to finish this off. The audience has everyone's attention to Lasky now as he begins to speak. Well, during the Insurrectionist War, a new threat emerges from the shadow. He uses his TACPAD to show pictures of the events is about to happen. This was Harvest, an agricultural planet. Planet is peaceful. No insurrectionist, riots or any type of violence. Lasky then let them pause for a moment. The Diet members were fascinated and some say it was beautiful with its sight. The colony went dark. No communication. The colonial administration sent a task force to check what's going on. When they come back, well, for those of you who are sensitive to some stuff, I advise that you look away. What am I about to show you is very, very disturbing. Lasky switched what it was once a paradise world into a world of hell. People were shocked, gasped, and cried out over what happened to Harvest. The farmer natives were also shocked but as well as terrified, thinking it was hell. Just who could have done such a thing on a planet that is peaceful, and has no intention of fighting? They found a lone vessel in the orbit of Harvest. It was not UNSC origin. We tried contacting it, but no negotiations can be made. They will not talk, they will not barter with. Instead they fired upon the team and managed to make a quick escape. The vessel gave us a message instead. We were able to translate it into standard English. Play the message, Jen. Then the video changes to a silhouette of the Prophet of Regret. The footage shown at full screen all over the world. It gave the aliens a worldwide vibe. Humans, your destruction is the will of the gods and we are their instruments. Those words gave a chill on every Diet member's spine, including the Farmit natives, knowing it would cause a great deal of risk. Mrs. Kohara, do you believe that we are alone? Lasky asked. I never thought about it, but no. I do believe that we aren't alone, she responded. Well, it was the year 2524. Thus mark a year in human history that we made first contact with extraterrestrials. When that word extraterrestrial was mentioned, the whole world was on fire. The media exploded and the press would know what will be in the front covers of every newspaper. We are not alone. Alien believers all around the world were celebrating that aliens do indeed exist. They call themselves the Covenant. They are an theocratic alien empire that came together through this alliance. They attacked humanity because they believed that we are affronted to their gods. Thus started a holy war. Lasky then showed some of the species that were involved in this war. He explained the grunts, elites, hunters, brutes, and the prophets. Except for the Hurogox. After that he showed some footage of the battles that they fought. He showed the armed forces fighting against the Covenant. He showed the Battle of Harvest. The Covenant outnumbered us from 8 to 1, and they were technologically superior to us. The only thing we have is courage and bravery. Live chat. Aliens are real. These were malevolent aliens. I wonder what these ETs believe in. We kept fighting, there was no ceasefire, or truce. They made it crystal clear to wipe us out. There was a man named Admiral Preston Cole who made the moral rate go up. Admiral Cole made a last stand of sea serpentis where he annihilated 300 plus Covenant vessels of different class. The display showed the beginning of the battle, up to the part where Admiral Cole is deep within the gravity well of the Viperidot and taunting them, which caught the bait. They fired everything into the UNSC Everest, but the planet's magnetosphere selected these hosts fired by the Covenant. The Admiral Cole said his final words. Listen to me, Covenant. I am Vice Admiral Preston J. Cole, commanding the human flagship, Everest. You claim to be the holy and glorious inheritors of the universe? I spit on your so-called holiness. You dare judge us unfit? After I have personally sent more than 300 of your vainglorious ships to hell? After kicking your collective butts off Harvest not once, but twice? From where I sit, we are the worthy inheritors. You think otherwise, you can come and try to prove me wrong. Then it showed him launching a countless amount of nuclear missiles not aimed at the Covenant but at the Viperidot itself. The detonation caused the gas giant to go micronova. The result was a brown dwarf star, and Viperidot became a star created by man. The whole Diet was silent of what Admiral Cole just did. Everyone considered it suicidal, and no one even in their military could be insane to pull that kind of action. Since he's gone, the Covenant quickly eliminated the remaining outer colonies and then pushed up to the inner colonies. He was the only guy who was able to beat the Covenant in space. The year is now 2552. Humanity was beginning to lose the war. They have found one of our planets called Reach, located in the Epsilon Eridani system. Reach was important because it was one of our last fortress of fighting against the Covenant, giving enough time for Earth to fight against the Covenant and keeping the morale rate. He then showed footage of the Battle of Reach. Everyone watched closely, seeing the brave men and women who were fighting for the sake of humanity. He even showed some footage of Noble Team missions as well as the stunts that Noble 6 has made. At the end it faded to a black screen and said, "Remember Reach. 2552. We lost Reach. Humanity was at its decline. Over 300 million lives were dead, including civilian and military. After that, HICOM ordered all the ships back to Earth. Even though some worlds were left untouched and spared, the most important place is Earth. If we lose Earth, humanity is lost." All military generals nodded in agreement. Keeping the morale high is very important. Then on October 28, 2552, coincidentally, the Covenant found Earth by accident, thus the beginning of the Battle of Earth. Lasky then showed footage of the Battle of Earth, starting from the Cairo station to the ground units on the surface. They saw footage of the Master Chief in action and how powerful and tough he was. Then they moved on showing footage of the Odds fighting against the Covenant in New Mombasa. He moved on showing footage from different parts of the world like Cleveland, Antarctica, Mombasa, Havana, Sector 6, Kenya, Arizona, and many more. Being in Japan, they even showed footage of the Covenant presence in Japan. Diet members were shocked to see that Japan is being attacked by the Covenant. They can see footage of Tokyo being under fire, as well as the National Diet being occupied by Covenant forces. Some Odds and mainly UNSC soldiers are shooting at some of the elites and grunts that were inside the building. Lasky then goes on talking about how the elites allied themselves with the humans, which would later be called the Neo-Covenant Republic in the future. That statement shocked everyone. Just how could they have allied with the same species that tried to kill them? He then goes on explaining how the war ended by killing the Prophet of Truth. Lasky left out other things such as the Forerunners, Precursors, the Flood, Halo Rings, the Ark, prehistoric humanity, the Banished, and Cortana's rebellion to prevent more widespread panic. The final footage showed the hillside memorial of those who didn't come back alive during the end of the war. When the video ended, it faded to black to show the final words. In memory of the fallen for Earth and her colonies. February 11, 2525, the 3rd of March, 2553. Well, that's our presentation. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so I want to keep this at one at a time, Lasky said. So how long did the war ask? James asked. 27 years, over 23 billion lives lost, both military and civilian. This statement caused the room go silent. So let me ask, how did you guys survive even though you weren't technologically advanced? Mizuki asked. It's because of the Spartans, the ones behind me, is Jerome, John, and the Master Chief. They are highly trained super soldiers, and the ones in my left are the Spartan IVs. But more information about them is highly classified. Wait, why did you ally with the elites? They are one of the enemies. Well, that's an answer that they can answer, Lasky said. What do you mean? A female Diet member asked. Arbiter, you and your team may come out now. The Arbiter came out with the sword of Sangheili, 1 brute, 2 Ungoys, 1 Kigya, 1 Yanmi, 1 Likgolo, and 1 Sanshiam named the Prophet of Knowledge. As they appeared, many of the press immediately began to take pictures of them. These were aliens. Honest to God, they are seeing real aliens. Japanese citizens were shocked and awed. These were unexpected guests to the Diet. Lasky was grinning, seeing 21st century humans are witnessing this shocking revelation. Aliens, real aliens, a young man said in a market. People all over the world had mixed reactions. Alien believers were praising this revelation. Scientists and astronomers would love to meet and speak with them, while some ultra-nationalists denounced them and they should go back to their planet. Religious extremists consider them as demons and spawns of the devil. Ironic, the aliens also call humans demons and heretics as well. Live chat. Welcome aliens. It's the reptilians. Look at its armor. Pure gold. Don't eat us, ET. Who are those little aliens there? They are cute. The Arbiter went up to the stand and began his speaking to the alt humans. Mizuki on the other hand had her jaw dropped to the ground in shock. There are aliens in Japan, an actual honest to real life aliens. Are you an actually alien? Mizuki asked the Arbiter. Of course, humans. My name is Thelvadam, or known as the Arbiter. My race is called the Sangheili, the short ones are called the Ungoys, the tallest one is a Likgolo, the medium size are brutes, the chicken-like creatures are Kigya, the one flying above me is a Yanmi, and the one with the long neck are the Sanshiam. So to answer your question is why did ally with the Covenant? To go to detail, well, we followed the prophets without any questions. It was until 25 years later, we started asking why did the prophets wanted to kill them off so badly, even though you guys are worthy to join the Covenant. What makes you think we are worthy? Mizuki asked. Well, I've seen the humans in action before. I saw an injured human saving an uninjured human in battle. I was stunned. I never thought humans could be so honorable. But to point it out, we got expelled from the Covenant and I formed the Covenant Separatist. This started the Great Schism. Many of them rebelled against the prophets. You see, in my culture is known to be as the martial culture and honor-driven. Japanese Diet members were shocked to find out that the Sangheili culture was so similar to the ones that Japan used to have. What a coincidence, that is similar to the culture we have. Honor like the samurai, Itami said. Of course I was shocked at first that there is human culture slightly similar to my race culture. Long before we joined the Covenant, our race ruled the land with pride and vigilance. Surviving the land and sea. Live chat. They speak our language. Ask them what they eat. They're like Japanese. How long ago the Covenant is formed? Mizuki asked. The Covenant is a very old empire. Currently it is the year 3443 of the Covenant calendar. As for human calendar, the Covenant was formed in the year 852 BCE. What 852 BCE? This shocked the members of the Diet. The Covenant was formed in the 9th century BCE. Europeans was still worshipping pagan gods when they were still living in a tribal society. Egypt was still at its 33rd dynasty. In China the Zhou dynasty rules China. But most civilization was still in tribal society. But these alien were on space travel when humanity was still primitive. Mr. Arbiter, people of the world would love to know about your culture and such, James said. Certainly human. We are naturally very intelligent. Our culture's long dependence on a military-industrial schema has led to an emphasis on might over science. So you guys focused more on your culture over science. Correct. But there is something I should tell you. I have fought with the Master Chief before. Believe me, he is a worthy opponent to fight. Later an Ungoy named Flipiat got on stage. Greetings humans, I am Flipiat and this is one of my co-workers Misip. Mr. Flipiat and Mr. Misip, you mind if you tell us about your culture and such? Flipiat and Misip told them about the cultures of the Ungoy. They also talked about how they were treated during their time in the Covenant. The world was shocked to learn about how they were forced into the Covenant and were treated as slaves. Do you mind telling me what are those things in your nose? Oh, this is a methane tank, Misip said as he showed his tank to the cameras. You see humans, unlike you guys, oxygen is considered poisonous to us. We can only breathe in methane. Never had in their lives they ever get to hear a species saying that oxygen was poisonous. Next in line was the Giralhani. He stated its name and told about the sea ulcer in its low voice. He also said that they were meat eaters. Then he joked about eating your meat. Then he warned the humans about their barbaric nature. After that was the Kigya. They explained how they got in the Covenant. They were founded as mercenaries and pirates. Then he also explained what his race did to the Ungoy, causing the Ungoy rebellion. For Likgolo and Yanmi it was difficult. They don't speak in tongues. Mainly the Yanmi spoke similar to what the crickets do. As for the Likgolo, they really don't communicate with other species and are known to be the quiet ones. So they couldn't get any answer from them. Finally was the Sanshiwam. The prophet of knowledge took the stage and began speaking. He was speaking like a priest and Buddha tone-like. Humans of this beautiful planet of Earth. My name is the prophet of knowledge, but my real name is Dole. Mr. Dole, you mind telling us what is the culture of the Sanshiwam? Certainly. Ours became centered around the guidance of elderly, were often paraplegic, and are very religious. In terms we respect our elders, and they are important. Lots of Diet members agree that the elders are very important and respecting them is a great honor. We are also known for our production of excellent alcoholic beverages such as Kasna. We are also known to smoke a lot. We call it hookah, tobacco produced from herbal synthesizers. Also drinking tea is a common beverage flavored with sea flower and sky spice. Interesting. I have a question for Laspi, so I'm pretty sure we could begin a trade agreement between your world and ours. I mean we are similar after all, NATO official said. That really depends on politics. I'm just a soldier. As for the Neo-Covenant Republic, well it really all depends on them. Laspi, The Council agrees to make trade agreements with them. We now need this world approval. The Arbiter went to the mic and speak again. The Covenant decided to begin trading agreements with any of your world nations. That got people enlightened that they are going to taste some of the alien culture. The 21st century humans are up for a new age, and a new era, space, culture, and much more. Then they went back to the humans to talk about more of the 26th century cultures and such. So I want to ask you something. What is the human life expectancy in your universe? James asked Lasky. The human life expectancy is 150 years plus increasing, Lasky said. This was truly overwhelming. Humans in this universe are going to have longer lives. Currently the life expectancy in the 21st century is 80 years. Me, the Master Chief, and Jerome will be turning 80 this year, but age isn't going to stop us. But Lasky, you look like you're in your early 50s or such. Those humans age slowly in your world? Yes, but people like me, and those who work in the UNSC age very slowly because we have fully invented cryogenic chambers. Allows us to slowly age when we travel into deep space. Some of us in the UNSC are over 100 years of age. Most who fought the Human Covenant War are retired, but we are not going to stop working. Especially me. Jerome stepped up to the mic. My name is Jerome. Service number 92. During the war, I was in a ship called the Spirit of Fire. My teammates and I drifted off in space for almost 30 years. So under my armor, I look like a man who is about in his mid-30s. Aging slowly is a dream come true to the 21st century humans. Especially Jerome, who says that he looks in his mid-30s, but he is actually turning 80 this year. The last thing they showed the 21st century humanity is the technology tier list. They explained every stage that they existed. They told the 21st century humans were at a tier 5 civilization, the era of nuclear weapons. Then they told them that they were at a tier 2 civilization, compatible Slipspace, and advanced AI. Then they told the farmers natives that they are in the tier 7 civilization, hunter-gathering, pre-industrial and such.